Hey, Natural Born Sisters! Welcome to another episode of Kinky in the Kitchen, where every swirl, curl, coil, and wave is celebrated. You'll hear inspiring stories from women who have left straight hair, wigs, and weaves behind, despite the discrimination and bias, to reclaim their power by rocking their natural hair. Be it spiraled, kinky, defined, or straight. Whether you're already a natural sister or still finding the courage to unleash your beautiful coils, you're not alone, and you're in the right place. Let's get to know your host. She's passionate about inspiring Black women to rock their natural hair with confidence, teaching our Black natural hair-wearing women how to show up despite hair discrimination and biases. She's natural like you and rocks her kinks in the kitchen loud and proud. She's Lisa E., aka Natural Born Sistah.
What's up, Natural Born Sisters? It's your girl, Lisa E., aka Natural Born Sistah, aka Living My Best Life. Welcome to the Kinky in the Kitchen podcast, the show that highlights Black women who are rocking their natural hair with confidence, despite discrimination and bias. Last time, we talked about sex, baby, and natural hair. Now, I'm not trying to make it look like I was just talking about sex. In fact, anything I talk about, natural hair most definitely will be involved. Unless it's an off-topic discussion episode, and it will be labeled as such. I actually want to start doing those for my Natural Born Sisters membership group, for those who want to get more into the things I like to share other than natural hair. Okay? So, in my last episode, I talked about the different things you can do with your hair before, during, and after sex. Like, it's a whole show for us 4C sisters, but it's worth it. We also talked about sex styling of your hair and using the crown braids or twists. And if you're feeling more playful and freakish, you can rock your fro. Either way, whatever style you decide on, it's still all about sex. So focus on what the top mission is here, because it's definitely possible. But today, we're on a different topic. For those of you that know me or have seen me on social media, which isn't much, I need to be on social media more. Damn. Well, those of you that know me know I have gray hair and a full head of it. And those of you that have known me most of my life or all my life know I've been graying since being in my 20s. And graying in your 20s was not popular back then. But it wasn't a big deal because hairdressers would have the solution. Dye. Dyeing your hair was the thing to cover up what we would call imperfections, because gray was the bad thing to encourage growth of. I remember how it all started. I noticed a gray strand of hair on top of my head. It was silky and long and like thick, like kind of strong strand of hair. It was different, like from my black strands, and the texture was like definite. It was definitely tight and thick. And those strands did not take to relaxes very well, but it stayed strong though. It was like there was nothing you can do to it. Like the strongest soldier in the crowd that said nothing, he just stared. That was what my gray hair was like. That strong soldier that stared and looked in his eyes gave you that I don't give a fuck attitude. But I like my strands because I can change the color of it with the quickness, with a rinse, of course. And I've talked about rinses before in previous episodes. Now, a rinse was more easier on the hair. Did not last as long as dye, semi or permanent, but it would give me a few days to a week to not worry about seeing gray hairs. And this was the days of weaves, relaxes, and half wigs, y'all. Sis, oh yeah, don't forget about the braids. I rock those too. But gray hair was so unpopular, yet very important. For me, I wanted to know why I started graying in my 20s. It had to be something wrong or something. I was the only one in my family this happened to, so I had to rule out genetics. So I did a little research on it. I had no clue what I was looking for, so I searched for gray hair. Gray hair why? Gray hair in my 20s. Why do people gray so young? The search terms are endless, and I did get a variety of search results, some more technical than others. And if you know me personally, you know I come with the challenging baggage, so I'm not simple. So I try to dissect the more technical reasons for it rather than the most simplest. Go figure. So here's what I found out. Premature graying of hair occurs more commonly without any underlying issues, but is said to be inherited in autosomal dominant patterns. Now, I need you to stay with me because some of these terms are somewhat complicated to pronounce. So you might hear me. I'm reading now, so it's going to sound a little different. But I practice a little, so don't get y'all sisters confused. I don't want to confuse nobody. So I researched the hell out of this because I want to know. And I'm going to give you the medical term I found online, which seemed the most pressing for me to share. So here it goes. In genetics, dominance is the phenomenon of the one variant of a gene on a chromosome masking or overriding the effect of a different variant of the same gene on the other copy of the chromosome. The first variant is termed dominant and the second recessive. You still with me? Okay, now that was the technical version I researched and found. So here, my interpretation, which only may make sense to me. So listen, here we go. Think about the chemicals that assemble in your body, right? Now, one version of the chemical inside your body, which is hiding in a genetic storage area, wherever that is in your body, I'm sure we have them. And that is overriding or hiding the effect of a different version of that same chemical on the other copy. Okay. In addition, my interpretation would be, say you have fraternal twins, two girls. They are twins genetically, but they're different. They don't have the same appearance or anything like that. So one twin is copying the other, but in a different way. If that makes sense, as far as working with the chromosomes, okay, and the chemicals that make that up for that. So, okay, that was my interpretation. I had to rewrite some of the stuff so it makes sense to y'all. But if it doesn't make sense to you, I get it. So I did a rewrite on it to play on words to see if this helps. So check this out. In genetics, dominance occurs when one variant of a gene on a chromosome masks or overrides the effect of another variant of the same gene on the other copy. Again, just like twins, same gene. The other twin is different. It's the same, but it's different. So that's how I interpret that part of it. But in genetics, dominant and recessive variants are classified as dominant and recessive, respectfully. Hello. I get it, but I don't get it. So let me tell you what makes sense to me. There are two genes. The main one creates a variant of the first gene, which is another copy of that same gene, but in a different version. Meaning the shit just ain't working right. For me, there could be a ton of reasons. The other is anemia. I've been diagnosed with iron deficiency all my life. I still take iron supplements to this day, more so in my higher Gen X years. So I kept going because it wasn't enough. As if I haven't confused the hell out of myself already, I kept searching. So here's a Google description that indicates autoimmune disorders could also be the cause of premature graying, which is quite scary because autoimmune disorders or diseases can come with some very serious symptoms and life-altering deficiencies. So here's what I found. Premature graying has been shown to be associated with a few of the autoimmune disorders. And I say that my issue is autoimmune or even thyroid issues combined with my ethnicity, which plays a role in this rite of passage as well. Now, notice I did not mention aging at all in any of these results. Why? Well, the most obvious reason is that it started in my 20s. And even today, I haven't aged physically as much. And for the amount I have aged, that is definitely not genetics. I know for a fact that aging did not cause my graying because I started to gray in my 20s, and this is not common. Not one person in my family grayed as young as I did. Not even close. My grandmother's hair is not even as gray as she is, and she's 88 years old, sis. And that's on my mother's side. I'm not too sure about my father's side, but on my paternal side, facts. She didn't really have a lot of gray hair. She used to tease me about mine. But hey, that's life. So now I have shared the possible medical causes of why my hair is gray. I want to talk about the personal experiences about it. When I decided to embrace my gray hair, the idea was that I no longer wanted to rinse or dye my hair. However, I still would do relaxers, weaves, and wigs. And the most difficult part of embracing the color was trying to find a hair of the same unique color I had. I would buy gray hair for every protective or unprotected style I wear. Even if I was wearing it relaxed in a style, such as a low cut with curls, something like that. And I remember one relaxed style my hairdresser gave me in gray. It was nice short. It was a nice short cut, and it had like all these curls. Sis. I added like a piece of a hair piece of gray weave on the side front, so it give that side swoop look. That old bang side swoop look from back in the days. A lot of people rock that still these days. But sis, you know what I'm talking about, right? That sexy side bang over right or left. I love that look. Even today, it's more of an 80s style, but I see it continuing as most women relax and weave their hair. And I tried every style under the sun. I had a custom wig made for me in gray. I loved the gray look. And this was around the time gray hair became popular, and lots of young women and men would dye their hair gray. And I noticed it didn't last too long. And it was one of those trends that came and went, right? And I would get compliments and conversations around my hair. But I noticed something. Most of these, in fact, all of these compliments, comments, whatever you want to call it, were from older women. Not old women, but women who were older than I was at the time, maybe 15 to 20 years older. And I remember one morning on my way to the office, going to work, I went into the coffee shop to get some breakfast. Starbucks was my favorite place to go every morning to get my coffee and a loaf cake, pumpkin to be specific. They hated when I walked through the door because my coffee alone, the order was crazy. It was a decaf almond latte with 2 pumps of skinny vanilla, no foam. They hardly would get it right. And I would have to complain about it almost every day. And I only bought it for the flavor because my thing was to stay away from as much caffeine as possible due to health issues. But that was my signature drink. And if I ever go to Starbucks, that's what I will order every time. I remember one year, one of the Starbucks store gave me a coffee gift that I used to go to for Christmas. It was a mug and coffee. And because I was so nice to the staff and everyone was pleasant and friendly, this was like the only shop I would get my order right. Well, actually, that would get my order right. So I fell in love with them. So I got my favorite staff members a small token of appreciation for Christmas. They might have been like a keychain or something. I can't remember. I think it was like keychains that had like certain sayings on it, right? Yeah, that's what I got. I got that. As soon as I walked through the door every morning, I was greeted by the staff. So who wouldn't? I was a regular celebrity, y'all. And that's why I don't have a problem with talking about this coffee shop, as they were so giving. So while I was waiting for my order, this nice woman approached me and said, I love the way you are embracing the color. So I said, thank you. I decided to not go against the grain, just go with the flow. She then says, good for you. I'm really impressed. So I started to say to myself, she doesn't know that gray color is the thing right now. And I'm guessing not. But anyway, compliments always came from women older than I was, which was, that was okay with me. But the worst part of it all was I was not okay with was having to explain my hair at work. I was the center of attention when it came to my hair at work, and I hated it. I remember this one woman that worked in a different department, and it was my hair that made her start talking. Among all the stares, she was the bravest and only one to ask me these types of questions about the color of my hair. She asked me if that was my color, and I just hate it when people just ask, that's your color or if that's your hair, which is the worst part. Those questions are so frustrating and annoying. I talk about this in episode 3 with my cousin who also had the same experiences, and the explanation there is much more intense. So check it out if you have time. But anyway, why does it matter to you? What would you do with that information if I answered yes or no? What fucking difference does it make? It would boil my blood till my skin would turn red. My nose must have been stretched out about 4 to 5 inches because I lied like Pinocchio. Yes, that color of my hair was my hair color because technically it was, but what she was looking at was not. Although the wig I wore was gray, so was my real hair underneath. So that's the point that I'm trying to make. So I was answering for my natural hair. And I did the next question to come out, but it didn't. That question, is that your hair? Because not every race is going to know whether to ask that or not. I believe she was Hispanic, and I'm not 100% too sure. And now that I look back, at least she had the courage to ask. Some would just stare. I would have to meet my eyes with them as their eyes will be looking up at my hair instead of my eyes during conversations. Like a clear sign of you staring at my hair. And that was super problematic for me because, one, you're not really paying attention to me. And two, it's damn rude to stare at another part of someone when you're speaking to them point blank. But yes, the days of gray braids and weaves became no longer. I decided to get a custom gray wig made until I figured out what I wanted to do with my hair. And since it was so hard to find gray hair, even online, I totally gave up on it. So now I'm back to wearing off black colored wigs with my hair braided underneath. This was like a step backwards for me. And I thought wearing the gray hair would give me courage, that I needed to then embrace my natural hair. But I ran into a dead end. So I reverted back to wearing the wigs, and I used to wear over my gray hair. It was fun while it lasted. I wanted it to be the next thing for me so badly, but it just didn't work out that way. So going back to normal wigs would go on for some years, maybe lace wigs. I hated them damn lace wigs. I didn't want to put glue on my hair, tape or anything, so I would try super gels and try to keep it away from my hairline. It was just messy. I sweat and shit raises up. Anyway, since I could not talk while I was in the hospital, it gave me time to think about life because there was several moments I did not think I would make it, so I was scared. Then I thought about how I wanted to show up for myself in life. COVID was a huge eye opener for me. And I started to think to myself, I said, if I can give up relaxes, if I can give up coloring my hair, if I can give up weaves, I could also give up wigs. But if I gave up the wigs, that would expose my natural hair. And I was not sure how to do that. So when I was released from the hospital, it was still very cold outside. So that gave me some time to wear hats. Now, although I work from home, my manager made it mandatory for us to be on camera while we were in meetings. So I needed something. So I would wear beanie hats. I've seen other coworkers come on and wear different styles of hats. So I said, I'm going to wear beanie hats. And I had them in a variety of colors. So I would switch them up. I didn't care much about appearance as I was still sick after being released from the hospital and still positive with COVID. I could barely keep my head up every day after, during work. Like my mornings was so bad, I was suffering. I would have to take a nap on my lunch hour every day just to get a refresher to be able to work the rest of the day. But I was not as bad as I was before, you know. So as far as wearing the beanie hats, it was a great option. Or beanie caps, I think they're called. Something caps because they were made like sweaters. It was soft. No. Um, it would go on for about a month or so. I had plenty to switch up with, as I will order them over, over time online. So let's pause for a moment because I know that I'm going to get questions as to why I could not talk or walk when I had COVID. So going back several years before COVID, I was diagnosed with mild asthma. What that means is that I would have trouble with my breathing under certain weather conditions, mainly humidity. Any type of dense air would trigger a breathing issue for me. And drive through the mountains as well. And the mountains is pretty new for me. So I didn't know that until like a year, maybe about a year ago. So I don't do too well driving through the mountains. So I would carry my pump and use it when needed. Since this was not an all year issue, I did not take common asthma medications as the doctor would prescribe. But during my slam with COVID, I suffered with coughing and lethargic symptoms prior to going to the hospital for about a week. And I could not get out of bed. I also suffered with a concussion that would have me dizzy for days. Like every time I opened my eyes, I could see like geometric shapes, shaped very specific. Like the shapes were like very geometric, right? Um, I could not get out of bed. And that happened from running into the wall, going to the bathroom because my body was so heavy and I just felt so tired. I could barely make it to the bathroom at times. So let's go back to when I started to feel sick. It was February 12th, 2021. I thought I had symptoms of what I thought was the flu because I would get the flu virus every year in February like clockwork. So I was waiting for those symptoms, but they would never come. But I was feeling really ill. And I kept saying that I know I'm getting the flu, but the symptoms of chills, body aches, and fever would never come. And something told me to go get COVID tested. After a few days went on, I did. I went to urgent care and I took the test. And as I waited for the results, which was about a good 10-15 minutes, I started to develop this cough. So I looked at my fiance and said, "You hear this?" He said, "Yeah, you just started coughing all of a sudden." I'm saying, "Where the hell did that come from?" He said, "Yeah, that's crazy." So I never put two and two together at the moment as to why I developed the cough. But my conspiracy way of thinking was telling me everything I did not want to know. Well, that's another topic for another show. But anyway, after getting the positive COVID result, I ended up going home, hoping I'll be able to shake this off as I would the 24 or the 72-hour flu virus. I didn't. The cough got worse. The lethargy got worse as well. My eyes were closed for 23 and a half hours a day. The other half hour were bathroom trips. I did not eat anything, but I did drink a lot of water. My fiance kept saying to me, "You should go to the hospital. You should go to the hospital." And I would always say no, because I'm going to shake this off eventually. I'm all right. It was weird that he would suggest that because he's not a big believer in hospitals and doctors and stuff, as he is a conspiracy theorist like myself. So after a couple of days, I decided to go because I did not want him to feel like if something happened, he would not know what to do. I believe he was nervous because of all the media hype around this virus. So I got up, took a shower, got ready. I tell you, no lie, it took me over 3 hours to get ready. And I really didn't understand what the hell was going on or why wasn't I able to just get ready and go. So we finally made it to the hospital where they tested me. I swear, the swab, the cotton swab on the tip almost felt like they were a little crystallized a little bit. It did not feel like a regular soft swab. So anyway, I tested positive again, of course. The first night I was there, I had full blown asthma attack. Oh Lord, I thought I was dying because although I have asthma, remember, I never, ever had an asthma attack. Never. So I wasn't sure what was happening to me. And if I did, how in the hell that would happen overnight like that? I wouldn't eat and I lost a lot of weight. You could see how sick I was if you saw my face. And I was so lonely in the hospital because there were no visitors allowed. But I managed, I'm a big girl, I'm a big sis. So asthma attack after asthma attack. If I moved, I would have an asthma attack. I could not make it to the bathroom. Otherwise, I would have an asthma attack. So I had to use a portable seat that was placed next to my bed. But I was still having an attack every time I had to go because it's still movement. So every time I had to go, I had to expect to have an asthma attack alone. So I was not in a caring hospital where they would check up on me, or even when I pressed the nurse button, no one would come. And I guess that was because I couldn't talk. So they would think it was the button was pressed by accident or something. So that's why I say I was alone. I had at least 12 to 13 attacks while being in the hospital, and I was trying to prevent them by not moving. I learned that just removing the covers off of me would give me an attack. Just sitting up would give me an attack. So I would hold my bladder for hours to avoid using the bathroom just so I could stay still to avoid an attack. And this was the worst for me. I texted so much just to stay in touch with my family, at least during the times I was up. So you see, this COVID thing had it out for me. Thank God I had the strength to power through it, as most people could not. God bless them. But anyway, that was my COVID ordeal. I pray I never have to go through it again, or anyone else for that matter. That's how bad it was. So getting back to it, getting back to it. I will wear those beanies until I got well enough to test negative, which was in late April. So I had long COVID. So it stayed around for a very long time. And I still suffer with breathing issues and symptoms, hoping that they would go away. But I'm thinking now that COVID has left its mark on me with these symptoms. So moving on. I want to go back to life and work as me. Keeping up with the wigs every day was not the rule for me anymore. So I talked to my mother about wearing my hair natural. And she said she has this longtime friend she introduced me to who was able to do my hair. I'm like, you sure? You sure? Because I know me, I know my mom, so I just want to make sure. So I went in for a visit and I was pleased with the results. I would continue to go to her for a few months until I moved to the state of Pennsylvania. I would make random visits here and there and sometimes still do, but not as often as I should, as my hair is prone to drying a lot. And she's very good for my hair. Like every time I leave, my hair is soft and it's manageable. So I did find a natural hairdresser near my new address. She's good with natural hair as well, but I haven't made time or money to go see her a second time. You see, getting your hair done natural or not, which I learned over the years, especially if you're particular about your hair like me, it's not easy on the pockets, especially my pocket. So I will go on by using the products and styling techniques she used until I can make it back there. And I learned one thing about doing this. You can learn how to do your hair. But after a while for me, it started to dry out and started to get boring for me. And I was tired of it. So I was going overboard with the use of gels and trying different things. But my hair would just dry out. So I finally made an appointment. And the reason why I'm not showing up on social media is because I need to get more comfortable with my hair again. Well, I have an appointment coming up, so I'm excited about that, hoping I can get what I need to move gracefully. Some of y'all might get that. Gracefully. Dun, dun. Anyway, I love my gray hair, so this isn't a hard journey for me to attain. It's been years since exposing the color, but exposing it naturally will be about close to 2 years now. So I'm hoping my story can be an inspiration to those who may have the same issues and gray hair exposure. For me, it's more about my health. And you know, as women, we tend to be the subjects of bad health, such as cancer, as a result of using products. Yeah, of course. It may take you, or it may not take you, but it may make you feel better about yourself. But your natural hair and color can also do the same as chemicals by making you feel good about yourself as well. It's all about creating what you can with what you have. So to my gray sisters, young or developed by age, think about your future self and what you would like to feel like as you progress in age. For me, again, I like saying for me, if I could avoid suffering or making my life shorter than what it could be, I will stop it. And that's what it was for me in discontinuing using chemical dyes and treatments. You think about that going into your bloodstream, and over the time, it could be doing your body bad. And maybe for some of us, it's too late already, but I beg to differ. You know, I did some research on my chemical dyes, and it said that PPD, Peter David, that's the acronym, which is short for a word I refuse to pronounce, but we'll leave it in the show notes. Any contact with your skin is to be avoided, as it can lead to cancer, as research indicates. So, are you wood or are you human, sis? I'm researching every day to find out reasons with bad results so I can share with you and hope that you can use it to make your life better for you. Listen to your body, and if it's not doing what it should, remove something from your life. I've been removing so many things in my life, foods, products, you name it, and it's starting to make me feel much better. So I would love it if you could put health first before looks. And think about the reason you're doing it. If you're trying to impress someone else or others who believe you should be dyeing your hair because they determined that you're too young to wear gray hair, then tell them to kick rocks, because it's not their body, it's yours. And you make the determination for you, not for anyone else. Society has created this negative loophole for those to make decisions for us they feel is right. But is it right for you? Think about that. If you can take this gray hair journey with me, you won't regret it. I am in development of the perfect gray t-shirt for our gray hair wearing sisters. So be on the lookout for that. The t-shirt that I recommend for this show is the Natural Born Sistah tee. Of course, it's all about how natural you were from birth and how you develop naturally as life brings you more and more gifts. The color of gray. And it's not a negative journey. It's a very positive one. So rock on. And sis, don't forget, we're bringing you kinky content in the kitchen every Wednesday on your favorite cast. So tune in. You won't regret it. And visit the site that has the tea for you to give you the power for your natural hair, confidently voiced. Okay? Located in the show notes. I'm out.
That's all for today. What feelings are you left with? Do you have questions, thoughts? DM on IG at Natural Born Sistah and let's talk about it. Oh, and don't forget to leave us a rating on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. They really help us grow and reach more women who need company on their hair journey. We'll chat it up next week.